Let's take a look at a four-way system, and we will first go in to import the Audiofrog target curve data. Comes in like this. We've got our subwoofer measurement, mid-bass, mid-range, and tweeter. So to make use of this, you need to use the overlays feature. Just come up and click on that. Maximize. The target curve is only visible just barely down here, and the reason is the maximum decibel is at 10, and the measurements were recorded as some other range much louder than 10 decibels. So I've done this before, and for this one I like to pick the subwoofer, the top of the curve. The reason I'm looking at this decibel reading here at the top of this curve is because I will calculate the offset. So we have 69 minus 10. Let's go back to the main screen. To add the offset, to raise it up, we come over to Controls and get rid of that. Type in 59. Add to data, go back to overlays. So we now have this visible all the way across the spectrum, and you can see we have quite a lot of work to do, but the first thing is to get this better lined up here with the subwoofer response. So you can kind of estimate, we want this orange line to kind of come in like this, and just pick a few points that we can have it to match up. One thing to note here is the target curve is not using the smooth traces, the logarithmic display for traces on the measurement data. Another way to get around this is when you use the RTA, set that to bars. So right now the offset went a little bit too high. We need to bring that down. So the first offset of 59 decibels was an addition. To bring it down, we subtract. So I am going to start by taking off 2 decibels, add to data, go back to overlays, and I think that's pretty good. What do we want to think about for making this system match up nicely with the target curve? First thing, let's start here with the tweeter. It's obviously far too loud. It looks like maybe the mid-range and tweeter will be crossed right around 2.5K. So almost every bit of the tweeter is too loud, which means you go to the level control in the DSP and you turn it down. So kind of want to pick something maybe about here. This is about 65 decibels. The curve is at 54.3, so you do the subtraction and go to your DSP and drop the level by, that amount of decibels, and it would bring the blue curve down. It's still not going to match the target curve, but just talking about steps here, not the slam dunk in one go. The mid-range, I'm thinking I would probably bring this part down to the curve. I'm focused at 300 hertz here. I bring this down so we have just pointing and clicking at the curve, I have 61.1 decibels. The target curve is at 57 decibels. So again, drop the level of the mid-range channel just to make this small portion match the curve. And then I would be thinking about how I'm going to use the equalizer to drop down the rest of it. And the reason is, I would expect if I were to further reduce the level of the mid-range. Now again, that thought process was ignoring the crossover for the top of the mid bass and the bottom end of the mid-range. But I'm just thinking, you don't want to just drop the mid-range like picking out the peak at 69.3. I wouldn't want to drop it down by, let's see, I've got 57 here. I would not want to subtract 12 decibels out of it, because then I would expect I'd be in a position where I'd have to do a lot of boosting on the equalizer, and that's not something we want to get into the habit of doing. Not to say it won't ever be necessary, but we got to have mainly reducing on the equalizer to match the target curve. Mid-range, really I'd be only looking at the low pass filter and matching that up with the bottom end and the mid-range, and then maybe a few bands of equalization to bring this down. It looks really like the easiest part of this to handle so far. And then focusing down here at the subwoofer mid-bass crossing region, I would anticipate that this actually is going to fill in very easily and possibly even exceed the target curve once this was measured with the sub and the mid-bass playing together. Before I wrap this up, I have added an offset to the mid-range. Now we're matching the target curve at about 300 to 360 hertz. Coming over to the tweeter, I dropped about 10 decibels using the offset, and now we're looking pretty good. Okay, let's move on to a different example. This is a RU 5.20 beta 15. You should probably be using 5.19 and not this. So if you see any slight differences in the UI, that is why. But mostly this should be a pretty good example. What we have in this one is my system. It is a three-way system. We have a subwoofer, low pass filtered at 60 hertz, 6.5 inch mid-bass comes in at 80 hertz and stops here at 3 kilohertz, and then a 1-inch tweeter comes in at 3 kilohertz and takes us out to the end at 20K. Again, we have the Audiofrog target curve loaded, so let's go to the overlay. Now, something immediately comes to light as an issue. This bass level is far too high. This curve should not have an offset all the way up to, 45 decibels. That's going to make everything on the right side here far too low. So now I need to pick something. Let's go down to about let me go with 2K, and I am going to add 11 decibels to my offset. Okay, I don't like how this looks. Clearly the subwoofer has to be dropped The way I addressed this in the car was to go to the subwoofer amplifier and turn down the gain. I also went into the DSP and reduced the level. If I remember correctly, for the mid bass, I mainly addressed this with EQ, and I believe I reduced just the tweeter levels in the DSP. I do remember adjusting the gains for the mid bass and tweeter channels, but that was to eliminate some of the system hiss noise with the radio paused or muted. Hey, this is Barry. One more time, just for a moment before you close out this video, please go to the website mobileaudioacademy.com. There is an offer for the book Crossover Curving. This book is one of the hardest things I've ever developed in my life. It is the culmination of 30 some years of my experiences and my own unique perspective. I guarantee you're going to find something insightful and something you can put to use to make your own sound system sound better and be more reliable and have lower distortion. Again, go to mobileaudioacademy.com right now.